Right now, while you're watching this video, there's a clock running in Washington that almost nobody holding XRP has circled on their calendar. Not 20 days until the moon, not 20 days until $3, 20 working days until a room full of people in the United States Congress either rewrites the rules for XRP forever or packs up, goes home for a month-long break, and freezes this entire thing in place. And here's the part nobody else wants to say out loud. Right now, it's basically a coin flip. 50-50. I know that's not the certainty every other channel is trying to sell you, but stay with me, because that coin flip is landing inside the next 20 days, in rooms most of us will never get to see, and whichever way it falls could matter more to XRP than the last 2 years combined. So do me one favor. Don't touch that back button, because by the time this video ends, you're going to understand this exact window better than 99% of the people arguing about it in the comments right now. Let's go. Before we dive in, a quick word from the heart. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. It's my honest read on the news, shared with a community I genuinely care about. Please, never invest money you can't afford to be without, and always do your own research. I want you here for the long run, not just for one green candle. Okay? Deal? Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Crypto with BHW, the channel where we tell it to you straight, with heart. Grab your coffee, get comfortable, because we're about to break down the most important 20 days XRP has seen in a very, very long time. Let's start with the thing that matters most, because a lot of people are throwing around dates without understanding what they actually mean. The bill we're talking about is called the Clarity Act, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act. And this is not some rumor floating around crypto Twitter. This is real legislation with a real paper trail. Back in July of 2025, the House of Representatives passed it by a massive margin, 294 votes to 134. And listen to this, more than 70 Democrats crossed the aisle to vote for it. In today's Washington, where the two sides can't agree on lunch, 70 Democrats jumping over to vote yes on a crypto bill. That tells you how much momentum this thing had. Then it moved to the Senate. And in May of 2026, the Senate Banking Committee advanced it 15 votes to 9. On June 1st, it landed on the Senate legislative calendar number 423, for those of you who like to verify everything, and you should. That means the committee stage is done. The bill is sitting there, eligible for a full floor vote right now. So why the urgency? Why 20 days? Because the Senate came back from its recess on July 13th, and Congress leaves again for its long August break on August 7th. Do the math. That's roughly 20 working days. And after August, we roll straight into midterm election season, when nobody in Washington wants to touch anything controversial. So this window, these next 3 weeks, is widely seen as the last realistic shot for crypto market structure law in all of 2026. Now, what does the Clarity Act actually do for a coin like XRP? In plain English, it draws a clear line between which digital assets are treated like commodities and which are treated like securities. It hands clear oversight to the right regulators instead of the messy, overlapping patchwork we have today. For years, that single unanswered question, what is XRP in the eyes of the law, has been the heaviest anchor tied to its ankles. This bill is designed to cut that anchor loose. That's why this isn't just another headline. This is the difference between XRP living in a gray zone and XRP getting a green light. But a deadline is just a date on a wall until you know who's in the room fighting over it. So let me take you inside Washington this week, because what's happening right now behind those doors is honestly wilder than any price chart. Okay, so here's where it gets spicy. On July 17th, that's this week, the House Financial Services Committee is holding a special field hearing all the way up in New York. And the title alone should get your attention. It's called Building the Future of Finance, How the Clarity Act Unlocks Innovation. Say that title again slowly. Unlocks innovation. That's not the language of people trying to bury a bill. That's the language of people trying to sell it to the public. Now be clear-eyed with me. A hearing like this can't pass anything on its own. What it can do is force everyone in this fight, the Senate holdouts, the White House, the big institutions, to show their cards in public, during the exact week the bill's fate gets decided. It's political theater, sure, but it's theater that moves markets. And on the White House side, Caroline Leavitt is back at the podium, and when the press secretary starts fielding crypto questions in primetime briefings, you know this topic has gone from niche to national. But let's talk about the people who actually control whether this crosses the finish line, because this is where most channels go quiet. First, the champion, Senator Cynthia Lummis. She has been the loudest, most consistent voice arguing that only an act of Congress, not some temporary agency rule that a future administration could rip up, can give this industry lasting protection. She's the engine pushing this forward. Then there's the gatekeeper, Senate Majority Leader John Thune. He controls the floor schedule, and right now he's juggling this bill against other heavy priorities competing for the same limited days. If Thune doesn't allocate the floor time, the bill just sits there. And then the friction. Senators Josh Hawley and Rand Paul are both expected to vote no for their own reasons. Here's the math you need. Republicans hold 53 seats, but you need 60 votes to break a filibuster. So this doesn't pass on party lines alone. It needs Democrats to come along. A few already have. The question is whether enough of them do in time. There's also the elephant in the room, President Trump. His own ties to the crypto world have become one of the sticking points, with lawmakers debating ethics and insider trading provisions that would apply to government officials. I'm not here to take a political side. I'm just telling you it's one of the real knots that has to be untied before this thing moves. And you've even had figures like Kevin Warsh in the mix, as Washington debates the broader direction of finance and the dollar. The point is, this isn't one man's decision. Now, out of every single company on planet Earth watching this bill, there is one that has more skin in the game than anybody else. And I promise you, they are not sitting quietly in the corner. If any company on Earth has been waiting for this moment, it's Ripple. And their leadership is not whispering, they're shouting it from the rooftops. Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, has been beating this drum for years, with a phrase that's become almost a rallying cry in this community: clarity over perfection. His whole argument is simple, and honestly, hard to disagree with. A clear set of rules that isn't perfect still beats the chaos of no rules at all. Businesses can't build, banks can't commit, and capital can't flow when nobody knows what the law even is. And Stuart Alderoty, Ripple's top legal mind, has framed the flip side just as sharply. Leaving the current unregulated mess in place doesn't protect anyone. It just leaves the door wide open for bad actors to exploit the gaps. Think about that framing for a second. They're not asking for a handout. They're asking for a rulebook. So why does this matter specifically for XRP more than for most coins? Because XRP has spent years living under that exact cloud of is it a security or isn't it? A clear market structure law is the thing that finally settles that question at the federal level. And when that question gets answered in XRP's favor, here's the chain reaction people underestimate. Exchanges that stayed cautious get comfortable. Institutions that sat on the sidelines because of regulatory risk suddenly have their excuse removed. Products that couldn't launch in a gray zone can finally see daylight. XRP wasn't built to be a meme. It was built to move value across borders, to plug into the plumbing of real finance. Regulatory clarity is the key that unlocks that use case at scale. That's why I keep saying this window is bigger than a price target. This is about XRP finally being allowed to be what it was designed to be. Quick one before we go deeper. Did you know the House already passed this exact bill all the way back in 2025? A lot of people think this is brand new. Type yes or no in the comments. I genuinely want to see how many of you knew that. Here's what almost nobody is telling you though. Even if you didn't care about XRP's price for a single second, there's a much bigger wave forming behind all of this. And it is already moving, whether the headlines notice or not. Let's zoom out, because this is the part that gives me genuine chills. This whole fight over the Clarity Act isn't really about one token. It's about whether the United States is going to build the rails for the next version of the financial system. A version where real-world assets live on blockchains. We're already seeing the early movers. Companies like Ondo Finance are pushing hard into tokenized real-world assets, taking traditional financial instruments and putting them on-chain. The DTCC, one of the most important pieces of plumbing in traditional Wall Street, the entity that helps settle trillions in securities, is actively exploring blockchain settlement. When the old guard of finance starts building on the same technology as crypto, that's not noise, that's a signal flare. And we have a precedent that proves this machine actually works. Remember the Genius Act, the stablecoin law? It was signed into law in July of 2025. And here's a detail that gives me goosebumps. Its rulemaking deadline lands right around this exact same week in 2026. So while the Senate debates clarity, the stablecoin framework is hitting its own milestones in parallel. The dominoes are already falling. Clarity is just the biggest one left standing. Now connect it back to XRP. XRP was never really a meme season play. It was built to be infrastructure, a bridge asset for moving value fast and cheap across the world. In a future where real-world assets are tokenized and institutions need fast, compliant settlement rails, guess what kind of asset suddenly becomes very, very relevant? That's why I don't look at XRP as a lottery ticket. I look at it as a piece of the plumbing being built right in front of us. So let's bring this all home, and let's do it honestly. Because you deserve honesty, not hype dressed up as a promise. Let's talk about that number everyone keeps whispering. All right? $3. Higher. The number everyone wants me to scream at the top of my lungs. Here's my honest take. And I'm giving it to you as an opinion, not a guarantee, because that's the respect you deserve. If this bill passes inside the window, I believe it removes the single heaviest weight that's been sitting on XRP for years. We've seen this movie before. When the Genius Act cleared, sentiment shifted, confidence returned, and the whole space felt it. A market structure win of this size could act as a genuine catalyst, not overnight, not the same afternoon, but over the following weeks and months. Relistings, institutional confidence, new products, fresh eyes on XRP. In that scenario, do higher levels become very real again? In my humble opinion, yes, absolutely. But, and I love you too much to skip the but, right now the odds of passage sit closer to a coin flip than a sure thing. Prediction markets have it hovering in the 40s. Thune has to find the floor time. The ethics knots have to get untied. Enough Democrats have to say yes. So if it slips past August, it doesn't die. It just gets pushed, likely into next year, and we practice the one skill this space rewards most: patience. So what does prepare actually mean? It does not mean panic buying at the top because a video told you to. It means understanding the story better than the crowd, which, if you made it this far, you now do. It means sizing your position in a way that lets you sleep at night. It means being educated and ready before the catalyst hits, not scrambling after. Because the people who win in crypto aren't the ones who react to the news. They're the ones who understood it first. I'm optimistic, genuinely, not because I'm ignoring the risks, but because I've watched this industry claw its way from banned to on the Senate floor in just a few short years. That arc only points one direction over the long run. The pain we've felt on the charts since last year, it doesn't last forever. It never does. So here's where I'll leave you, fam. 20 days, one coin flip, and a community that shows up early instead of late. Whatever happens next, we're going to walk through it together. The green days and the red ones. Because that's what we do here. If this brought you clarity, Do me a favor and drop your honest thoughts below. I read them. I'm right here with you. This has been Crypto with BHW, where we tell it straight with heart. Stay ready, stay hopeful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.